A big part of your life as an entrepreneur is dealing with taxes. How do you do it right? How do you make sure that if you're using crypto, like many of us are, that you're doing it according to the laws? Well, you get some help with that. In this interview, I'm talking with my friend, David Spencer. He's a CPA, a certified public accountant, and he knows about taxes. He knows about Bitcoin and how to make sure your cryptocurrency is done the right way so you don't run into trouble with the IRS, with the tax man. You're going to want to pay attention on this particular episode. I had a chance to interview him, and he really gave us some good ideas that you're going to love. That's available for you on this episode of Agorapreneurs.
Welcome to Agorapreneurs, standing for liberty and freedom, all done peacefully. Now, here is your guide, Terry Brock.
The world of blockchain and cryptocurrency continues to change, and it's fascinating. There's a lot of benefits to it, but there's also some things we need to be aware of. Things like, real world keeping track of what we did, and for taxes. The IRS in the United States treats the property that you have as, well, property. It does not treat it as necessarily income that you have, but you do need to have someone who's really smart that can help you on this to find out what it is. Matter of fact, a CPA, a certified public accountant, can be very helpful, and we've got one of the best for you today. David Spencer is joining me right now from his offices there in over in Tampa. David, good to have you with us today.
Terry, it's a pleasure to be here with you. Good to see you again, my friend. Looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. Well, I love your enthusiasm and your knowledge that you have. For a CPA, that's very rare to have that enthusiasm, but it's real good and we love it. But you really know taxes. You know what these are like. Tell us a little bit about the importance of having the right systems in place and the right people looking at it when you're doing your transactions and you're doing things with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. What do you see and what words of advice do you have on that?
Yeah, well, that's an excellent question. The first thing that I think about when as we begin serving clients and assisting them with reconciling their digital asset portfolio is we want to make sure that we have a good trail to follow. If you've got a significant digital asset portfolio, you can probably bet that within the next 3 to 5 years, the IRS is going to be looking at it, okay? And when they look at it, if they have any questions, they're going to send you a letter. And that letter is going to make you a bad day, right? But if you have in your possession that you can say, hello, Mr. IRS, here's exactly what we did when we prepared my taxes. Here's a trail you can follow that will tie out, that makes everything make sense. What you've done there is you've created a shield for yourself. You've protected yourself, right? And that's what I try to do because we're at the beginning of a new industry and I want to make sure that my clients can rest easy at night. And the way we do that is we have consistent methods that we apply at a consistent rate so that we accurately represent the economics of the situation. And that sets our clients up for success and makes sure that they've got a good shield to protect them.
I like the way you say that. It's what you're doing is you're really putting a system in place and you know that system, you're nurturing that system, you're following it. And we can use a system. I guess I could try to come up with a system on my own. And if I knock around enough and bump into walls enough, make enough mistakes, lose enough money, I'd eventually come up with something. However, it seems like it'd make a lot more sense to come to you and your team. You know what to do. You've done this many times before. You know how to do it. What are the important steps that you see in developing that system so that you make sure you do have the right tax records and you record everything properly?
Yeah. The most important step, I think, is going directly to the blockchain. So we do our analysis directly from Etherscan, directly from blockchain explorers. And the reason why we do that is because we get the raw data. So when we pull that raw data down, we collect it. So that way, if the IRS ever has any questions, we aren't going from some tracker that's over here that gives you one answer from another tracker over here. We've got the actual blockchain data to provide to the IRS to help follow the trail that says this wallet sent this amount to this wallet on this day at this time. This was the value of the asset at that time. And so that level of precision is cumbersome unless you're kind of an Excel master, right? When we download the CSVs, we're Excel masters. And that is the skill set that allows us to be efficient in managing and reconciling these huge digital asset portfolios. And so that allows us to leave a trail and do a real investigation.
Yeah, I like that. And you mentioned EtherScan is one of the tools you use. What are some other tools that you have found that are out there right now in this space that you have found to be very useful?
So again, because we go directly to the blockchain, we have to have an explorer. If it's a blockchain, then it has an explorer. It's kind of like a necessary, if it's a dog, it's got four legs and a wet nose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we go directly to the explorer. If it's the Bitcoin Explorer, Ethereum Explorer, Polygon Explorer, Pocket Explorer, whatever the explorer is, we're going to go right there. And we get a lot of different kinds of information from the explorers. So when we retrieve that information, we've got to do, sometimes some pretty heavy manipulation. And that's where our data analysis tools come into play. And that's where, having a great team and having smart people in the house, that's where it really is the difference maker.
Yeah, I think so. It seemed like that'd be very important. Well, now you've been out there on the field doing it yourself, but also working with other professionals, tax professionals around the country. What are some cases that you could think of, without using any names, of people that did something that could have been done differently and maybe caused some problems for them, but you would recommend they do something different? Any case studies that you could think of that you would be able to share?
Yeah. So the number one thing is to plan ahead, right? And that goes into a number of different aspects in the digital asset space. One of the easiest ones is probably mid-year last year, when we started seeing a lot of people cashing in digital decentralized finance wealth. So let's say I've got a normal kind of gig, I've got a normal W-2 job where I get direct deposits every month, right? My direct deposit is the consistent. Every month I get paid, right? My bank is accustomed to that, right? Your bank is watching you, right? Your bank's watching you, right? And they're keeping you safe. That's part of why they're watching you. They're watching you to keep everything copacetic. So if that's my consistent payment every month, the bank knows that. And then I make $250,000 in a digital asset investment. And I try to send that to my bank, and I don't let them know ahead of time. They might shut my whole account down. That's a possibility.
Because it's highly out of the regular.
It's highly out of the regular. They're going to file a SAR report, suspicious activity report, right? And they're going to have a whole lot of questions for me. I've seen examples where the bank will close the account and just send the taxpayer a check, right? And they will find out the account is closed when they go to spend their money on just a regular day. And they're like, wait, my card is declined? Why is that? They call the bank and your account has closed, right? So what do? You plan ahead. You build a relationship at the bank. If you're a digital asset investor and you got 200 grand in a Coinbase account someplace that you're getting ready to send to the bank to spend, to buy a house, to do whatever you want to do, walk into the bank, introduce yourself, and plan ahead. And your banker will appreciate it, right? Same thing when you're running a digital asset business, right? If you're running a digital asset business and you've got a new vendor, right? And you're going to be consistently paying this person, do test transactions, get a robust system set up. So that way you're not, sending from one account one time, this account another time. You're not, sending things all over the place, which makes it hard to track, right? So if you are thoughtful and you plan ahead in your transactions and how am I going to affect these transactions and what's the most robust way, that's going to serve you very well to plan ahead.
I like it. That makes all the sense in the world. So those of you listening to this, think about what David just said very wisely. You want to get that system in place. You want to make sure you prepare ahead. It's been said many different ways. I love the Arab saying that you dig your well before you're thirsty. And I think what we want to do is make sure that we put these systems in place, that we're working with it, because we're going to have taxes for at least a little while longer, I'm thinking. So you want to prepare for that. And we can I always like the idea of say, we'll pay every dime we owe, but not a penny more.
Oh,
and
Terry,
okay, we're going to put that together.
You are talking to my heart right now. The first thing, I am going to steal that saying, you dig your well before you are thirsty. I love that, love that, love that. And you're absolutely right. You want to plan ahead and be thoughtful of what's going on, because it's going to save you at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like any kind of work you're going to do. If you're a medical doctor, you plan before you go into that operation. You do all your due diligence. You don't just, somebody says, "Oh, I'm hurting, doc." Great. Throw them on the table and cut them open. No, 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 no. They've got procedures they go through. They've got questions. They've got tests. They plan. And so whatever you're doing, I've traveled around the world and talked to a lot of successful people, very successful people. And I've seen what they do is they have their systems. They work on that and they get professionals to help them out. They don't try to do it on their own. Just a little while ago, I was asked to come down to Bogota, Colombia, by a guy from Mexico named Carlos Slim. And he has a lot of money, doing very well in Mexico. And he asked me to come down, be the opening keynote speaker for this event. And so for me, it was a real honor just to be there. But I saw all the systems that he had in place and the people that were with him. I happened to bump into his partner at a table. We were just sitting down eating, come to find out he was there. But he talked to me about how Carlos knows the system. He can pick up balance sheet. He can pick up the P&L statement and just read through it and say, this is going to go well. Ooh, you're going to have some trouble with this. You're going to have some trouble here. You need to do that. So I'm saying all of that to say it's important to get those systems and get people around you like David. So David, if somebody says, hey, I want to get in touch with this guy, he's got a lot of smarts on that. He knows what to do and got a good haircut too, like Terry. And so we say, okay, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way to do that?
So the easiest way is going to be to go to our website, dkstax.com, and fill out our contact form, and we'll get back with you. You can send me an email also at admin@dks-tax.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, DKS CPA. You can Google us, dkstax.com, and we're out here because DKS Tax and Consulting. It's easy to talk about tax because digital asset investors need that service, right? It's a big deal. The consulting is a big deal also, right? Understanding the right kinds of tools that you need to have in place when you're a digital asset business is really big as well. And so for example, we talked a moment ago about how a bank might shut you down if you get a big receipt of digital assets, right? Maybe you need a Circle account, right? A Circle account is an account that allows you to go from stable coins into fiat very easily. It's a robust platform. It's a very professionally driven platform. And so having the right kind of advice can point you in the right direction such that you can get the right tools, right? And so that's where the consulting piece comes in. So the taxation and the advisory work together so that way we can help you create a plan, so that we can help you get those systems in place, because you might not know them all, right? So every day what I do is I talk with business owners in the blockchain space and help them get the tools so that they can have the tools necessary to do what they want to do, right? Yeah.
I think it's a matter of having the right tools and the right procedures, like you said. Matter of fact, you've helped me already. I didn't think about this, but in the work that I do, sometimes there might be, particularly, I get a client and they're going to pay me a significant sum of money from wherever, and they might pay me in Bitcoin, they might pay me in crypto. Suddenly, I've got it there. What I would do is it probably went to Coinbase, and then I transfer it over to my bank. But I realize after hearing what you're saying, wait a minute, if it's a significant amount of money, whatever that number would be that would trigger their significant, then sending that to my bank, they would go, hey, we might have to shut this down. It seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, David, let's assume that I work with ABC client and they're wonderful. They pay me in full in Bitcoin. Now I've got large sum of money sitting there in my wallet. Seems like it would be a good idea for me to say, hop on the phone, walk over to the bank itself and say, hello there, Mr. Banker. I'm Terry Brock. Here's my account. Here's all my information. I just received X number of dollars in Bitcoin. I'm planning to transfer that over into this bank. What do I need to do to make sure it's done properly? Seems like that would be a good thing to do. What do you think, David?
100%. And I would really set an appointment with the banker and walk in, because the banker, all of the banks at the high level are getting involved in digital assets. That does not necessarily mean that your local branch manager understands digital assets, right? But if you're a member at his bank and you come in and ask him a question about a thing that is changing the world, he's going to sit down and you might be educating him. But in that relationship, right, he's definitely going to know that Terry Brock's not a scammer. he's coming in here and he's an honest business person. So that gives him ease, because as a banker, he's got a lot of regulations that are, making him be cautious, and rightfully so, right? Mm-hmm. So when you walk into the bank and you say, hello, I'm Terry, nice to meet you, he's going to get comfortable that, okay, Terry is not sending $250,000 of drug money into my bank.
Yep, I like that. Well, thank you. You've helped me on that. Now I just got to find that client that's going to pay me that $250,000 or more. We're open to more than that, and
we're
put that in there. But seriously, for those of you watching this, the entrepreneurs, Agorapreneurs, as we like to say, an entrepreneur who believes in the freedom and liberty of living your life your way, you need to be aware of this. Be aware you don't just do it because, hey, they've got systems in place, and don't think you're going to wink, wink, nudge, nudge, do it under the table. They have a thing called chain analysis. They know about this. They know what's going on. And so it's best to do everything right up front. And besides, even if they don't have it today, they might in 5 years when they come back and tap on your shoulder, and you don't want to mess with that. So get in touch with David. It's at DKS. That's as in those of you listening on audio, D as in Delta, K as in Kilo, S as in Sierra. So you'll get in touch with him that way, and we can get things really in line. But David, before we let you go, any final words that you would want to say to that entrepreneur, that person who's out there working hard, making money, getting into crypto? Maybe they're already there or they're thinking about getting into it. What advice would you give them as they're getting into this realm and starting to make money with it?
I'm going to tell them this, and this is what I want to share with every single person in the entire world if I could. Facebook is to the internet as Bitcoin is to the blockchain. Facebook runs on the internet, Bitcoin runs on the blockchain. The internet was the innovation, and in the same way, the blockchain is the innovation. So that's how large of an opportunity that we're dealing with in digital assets and blockchain. And it's going to be a beautiful, 20 years while we learn and grow with the blockchain. So
I love it. Well, David, I really appreciate you being with us today, and look forward to seeing you again in the future.
A pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you in Orlando, Terry.
Yes, indeed. And for those of you watching this, think about what you've just heard. You've heard from a man who really knows what he's talking about. He's brilliant. By the way, he's a wonderful guy, too. I know him as a friend through the Florida Bitcoin Blockchain Summit. He is a man who you want to get to know and at least have that relationship. Remember what we were saying, the old Arab saying, dig your well before you're thirsty. You don't want to run into an, oh my goodness, I'm getting an IRS audit, and then scramble to do that. Instead, put things in place beforehand. So you go, okay, hold it. We don't like that idea, but we're ready for it. We have the documentation, and you need someone that can kind of help you do that. If you're not a CPA, I'm not, and you do a lot of this, you need somebody that's going to help you just make the right decisions. And we appreciate you being with us today here on Agorapreneurs. I'm Terry Brock, and we'll look forward to hearing from you a little bit later.